How's it going, everyone? I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. First, I want to say thank you to each and every single one of you for making this channel possible. If you haven't done so already and you enjoy the content, I would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and comment in the comments section below. With that being said, this is a very niche section of collecting. I don't know many bus fans out there. I'm not exactly a bus collector. But I picked these up only because I rode these as a kid. I'm the last of a generation that will probably know the wonderful experience of what it is to have a Sony Walkman, who actually wore Nike Air Jordans when Jordan was still playing. It's not like the retros like we have today. And you guys have seen some of the retros that I've got. But we wore Jordans back then. We were the first to do it. So, we were responsible for the Atari 2600, for Nintendo, all the Transformers and G.I. Joe stuff that you guys enjoy. Well, that came from us 80s kids as well. So, but these buses are much older. I believe they were rolled out in the late 60s and were finally discontinued because, I guess because of the pollution content they were putting out. And they were just obsolete. They were old and a lot of the buses, at least in New York City where I grew up, were all broken down and beaten up. And, nowadays you have clean air buses and whatnot, but there was a certain charm to riding one of these. And these models really, really represent that. These are Corgi Fishbowl buses. And as a kid, I had the fortune of actually riding these buses when they were still in full service. Now, I know a lot of cities, in particular New York, they roll these out every once in a while. They have like Nostalgia Day or whatever it's called. The Transit Museum will roll out the old trains and the old buses and stuff like that, which is really cool. But I'm the last of a generation that actually rode these when they were still in service. Excuse me. So, in my case, we had the Q66, which was a Queens Transit line. And then, if you wanted to go to Steinway Street, you would switch over to the Steinway Transit buses, which were almost the same company with just a different name. I think they were subsidiaries of each other, and then they all merged together to form Queens Surface. Then you had green bus lines like this guy here. You had New York City Transit, and they had all different kinds of buses for the New York City Transit. This one's a Pennsylvania Railroad Fishbowl bus, what they call the New Look. But it doesn't have the air conditioning unit up on top because these things are basically rolling tin cans. But there was something quaint about these. And the only reason why I bought this particular bus is because my father was born in Pennsylvania. So it reminds me of him. But these buses are super, super accurate to their real life counterparts. And this bus right here in particular is modeled after the Q33, which ran up and down, I believe, 81st and 82nd Streets, and ran from LaGuardia Airport to Roosevelt Avenue. And further than that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I really don't remember because it's been many years since I lived in New York. But I actually rode the Q33 as a kid, and I rode the Fishbowl bus up and down that route. I also rode the Q47. I rode the the Q66, the Q25 A and B, the Q101, the 102, the 103, and the 104 lines. I mean, I rode these all over the place. And, when I was younger, I mean, the roar of these engines, of these buses, were just incredible, and there was nothing like them. And you see here the green bus line Fishbowl. This used to run up and down Queens Boulevard and Woodhaven Boulevard, so this also has a lot of nostalgia for me as well. Because, in some cases, if you knew how to maneuver around in New York, I would take several buses just to get to Queens Mall. And the green bus line buses would actually stop at the original Queens Mall, which I know they expanded and improved upon many years later. I mean, I'm still old enough to remember what Alexander's was, but Alexander's no longer exists as far as I'm aware of. But these buses were incredible. There's just a certain fascination about big machines. You usually see the New Look Fishbowl buses like these when the Metropolitan Transit Authority does their annual rollout. I mean, this thing is so accurate. The only thing that's really missing on these buses, by the way, for the Hawkeye are the mirrors. I didn't put the mirrors on here because they're too small and too fragile. I didn't want to lose them, didn't want to break them, so I left them off. And also, what I wish they had in these buses were the toll machines, the money collection machines, because back in the days, I believe the fare, especially with this particular bus, was like 20 cents at one time. I remember as a kid, I was old enough to remember when the bus fare was 65 to 75 cents. Now, God knows how much it is. But there should be a toll collection box here on every single one of these buses on the interior, but none of them have them. You know, they did take cash at one time as far as paper currency is concerned, but then the buses got robbed quite a bit, and then they did away with that. So they switched over to token and coin collection. And if you wanted to transfer, let's just say, from a New York City Transit bus to, I don't know, a Jamaica Bus Company bus, because there were a lot of bus lines in New York. If I recall, you had Jamaica Bus Lines, you had New York City Bus, you had obviously Queens Transit, Steinway Transit, that ran in and out of Manhattan, and of course they became Queens Surface. So you had a lot of express buses with them. You had Express Green Bus Lines. I mean, you had all crazy different bus lines out there. So in some cases, if you wanted to transfer from one to the other, you can actually get a paper transfer, an actual paper transfer. And as kids, we had bus passes. You know, depending on how far away you lived from whatever school you went to, you either paid half fare or you had a free bus pass. And kids were really awful back then. I tried it once and I got caught and I never did it again. Where you can actually photocopy the actual bus passes. And if you had a friend that had an old bus pass, they used to have holograms on them. You cut off the holograms and photocopy their bus pass and whatnot. It was just really convoluted and complicated and quite honestly quite stupid, because if the bus driver was hawk-eyed enough and caught you, you know, trying to fake a bus pass, he'd instantly call the principal or whoever would be in charge, and you'd get detention, and your parents would get a phone call, and you know, you would be in some hot water. So I got caught once doing it and never did it again. But there was always some way to get around it, especially on Queens Boulevard. Like, a lot of people are getting in back of the bus, coming through the back door over here or the side door to avoid paying their fare because there's so many people online and you had to get to school on time. So what do you think people did? They opened up the back of the bus. So, but anyway, they're very quaint and very expensive. I used to have quite a few of these. I had about a dozen of them. I had the factory or your standard New York City Transit Authority Fishbowl bus, which are extremely rare to find. They were blue and turquoise. I had one of them. Now they're going for like $500 to $700 each. In some cases, $1,000. They're very expensive and very hard to find. And I had a whole bunch of custom ones. For example, Corgi never made a dedicated Queens Transit, Steinway Transit, or Queens Surface bus. So unfortunately, I had contacted somebody somewhere. I don't remember how I did it, and had a couple custom buses. But over time, I ended up selling a whole bunch of them because, quite frankly, I wouldn't know how to display these. Even the 4 that I kept, I wouldn't know what to do with these because they're so awkward. Like, what do you do? You know, and I'm not that much of a bus guy. You know, I bought these for nostalgia reasons, more for myself than anything else. But it's an expensive hobby. It's like, you know, collecting trains and vintage trucks and toy cars. For example, like, I would have to say, out of the 4 buses I got here, I believe that the Triborough Coach Fishbowl bus here is probably the rarest. And I would say is currently, if you were to find these on eBay, you know, complete, would probably start at like $350 to $400. You know, I got lucky with this guy. I bought this guy for like $200, and I think I bought these for $250 to $300 each, respectfully. But this is probably the rarest and most expensive out of the 4 I got here. It's a super expensive hobby. So unless you have disposable income, you know, that's up to you to do it. But like I said, they are so accurate to their real life counterparts. But they are just beautiful. It's just Americana at its best. So Anyway, that's pretty much it. There's really not much more to say about these. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking out my video, supporting the content, more videos to come. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm your host, the Carolina Collector. I hope each and every one of you has a beautiful day and an incredible weekend. Take care. God bless. Stay safe. And I'll see you soon.